There we are. That is recording.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Joe, and welcome everyone. So this is the third in the series of the Success Formula Masterclass. I'm here with Joe from Clubwise, who's online and available to help me with questions and things like that. Anything you want to add, Joe, before we get started?
No, just that thank you for attending this final session, and we hope you enjoy it.
Cool, thank you very much, and yeah, thanks again. I must remember at the end to thank you too, but thanks everyone for coming and for watching us live, or if you're watching this on catch up, then thank you as well. And a big thanks to Clubwise for making this available to you all for free. Today's session is on Attract. We're talking about this new era of health clubs, where we've been through Engage and Recover. Just as a super quick recap, look, in the first week, so you can go back and watch these on, you should get a link tomorrow if you're watching this one or if you registered for it, or you can watch it on the Clubwise YouTube channel. We looked at keeping as many members active as possible in Masterclass number 1. Lots of details on that, on keeping people active and motivating them and making sure that as they join, they really get into everything your club has to offer. Then last week, we spent 45 minutes or so looking at catching members before they leave and really learning about people who are leaving, maybe saving some of them, but learning lots of lessons and really trying to improve the club by going through the recovery processes. And today it's going to be talking more about Attract. Sorry, let me just find the right spot in the presentation now, because I've zoomed around there. Yeah, it's we're going to be talking about attracting now. So I'm Guy Griffiths by way of introduction, and I've studied retention and helped clubs to get their members to stick around longer for the last 14 years. The secret to retention, as I've said over the last couple of weeks, is not that you need to work hard with every member, because you don't. The problem I see in a lot of clubs is that you're currently working with the wrong kind of members. You're trying to keep the members who actually are going to come back tomorrow, regardless of what you do with them. So the trick to good retention is recognizing who you're going to be working with, who you should be focusing on. And I'm going to talk a lot about retention today, even though we're talking about attracting new members. Let's just jump into the detail and our missions for this week's masterclass. We're looking at building new foundations, supporting health as well as fitness, and expanding services, growing businesses in terms of bringing new kind of demographics into your health club or gym, but also improving retention of the members that you already have, and bringing more long-term members in. We don't want necessarily to bring in short-term members or quick fixes. We really want to help grow businesses, and that's what we're about. That's what Clubwise are about. At GG Fit, so my company, we work with clubs on getting members to stick around longer by looking at reporting and analysis. We help run strategy workshops and training for staff on how to interact and engage more with members, all these kind of things we're talking about over these masterclasses. And we send out a lot of member communications as well to engage more with members. So the final in the masterclass series, 45 minutes or so, this afternoon or this evening, depending where you're watching from. If you've got any questions while you're watching live, please drop them either into the chat or the Q&A. I'm just going to tag that one is answered so that I know. So yeah, questions as we go through, please, and I will try and take them as we go, or Joe will chip in if there's something really useful that I should be addressing. I'm not going to set up with a pie chart this week. We use pie charts to describe the member database over the last couple of weeks. But I'm going to use this pyramid, which really talks, again, about the type of members that we've got in the club. If there is I often talk about the 1,000 member club because percentages are easier. But what we often find is 100 or so members, 10% maybe, who are coming and having and enjoying PT. So typically 100 members in a 1,000 member club will be at the top of that pyramid. They're the ones actually you don't need to do a lot of work with, because they're turning up regularly, probably 2-3 times a week or more. They're really engaged. Then we have the members who are attending classes. There might be 30-40%, so maybe another 300 or 400 members who are attending classes. Again, they're really engaged. They are very keen. probably, again, doing at least one, if not 2 or 3 classes a week. And those members, again, we don't need to spend so much time on. It's the ones who are just visiting the gym. Often the ones who are new, maybe visiting once a week, maybe have their headphones in, maybe aren't getting so much interaction. These are the ones that we need to focus on more. And what we often do is try and get those members into classes or into personal training, or as you saw in masterclass number 1, into challenges, or get them to have program reviews or health checks, just so that they're a bit more engaged. So by working on the maybe 500 members or 50% of your club who are less engaged, that's how we improve retention. But today I want to talk more about attracting new members and building new business models and things that we've learned from the pandemic as well. What I'm going to suggest is that we actually build on another layer below those gym members that will help us to feed the gym and feed classes initially. Okay, the example I've got here is health seekers, but this could be something very simple as it could be a running club, or it could be members who are just interested in health walks or something like that. So it's not necessarily health seekers, that's the example that I'm using, but by having people who are subscribing to some kind of service, maybe they're just subscribing to your app and using your club app. Maybe they're paying for it, maybe it's free, but we're building a database, if you like, of another, it could be another 500, 600, 700 members who are engaged somehow at this kind of more base level that we can use to feed into the gym and then onto classes and then onto PT. But also we can take this health seeker layer at the bottom here, this bedrock, if you like, for the business. And if we grow it out, and in my example, we've got health seeker subscriptions here, or this could be not just 500, 600 members using your app, or maybe buying equipment from you. If we make this 1,000 members along this bottom layer, we can then build other business models on top of this. So for example, we're not just feeding people into the gym, we're not just feeding people into classes, but we're looking at things like, for example, remote coaching, or remote personal training, or it could be, another example, some kind of nutrition program that you offer. Another popular one at the moment is electromuscular stimulation, or EMS. Some people will know it as MiHa Body Tech is doing some great things in the EMS space. It's massive in Germany or in Europe, and it's becoming more popular in the UK and in the States, and in Australia as well. Just very quick, an EMS workout is when you put on this suit and you have certain personal training. You have a personal trainer with you, but you only spend 20 minutes pulling some poses. You've really got to try it out if you've not already. It is very interesting. It's not for everyone. But as the top of a pyramid, it's the kind of thing that people might want to come and do 20 minutes a week. It's quite expensive, which is why it's maybe on that same level as PT. But the idea is of building a bigger base layer to not just feed into the gym and into the traditional business, but to build into other business areas. And these are just examples. There's lots more that you could build on top of this. And actually, there could be lots of different pyramids as well. We're trying to push people up that pyramid towards the top because retention is better, but also in the same way as PT on the left-hand side of this diagram, you'll be getting more income from those people at the top. The base layer, it could be a free model or a freemium model, or it might be some kind of basic subscription, as I say, to an app or to a health seeker subscription, which I'll cover in more detail in a minute. The final part of this diagram is that we may lose people from the gym to remote coaching. And equally, we might bring people from remote coaching into the gym or classes or nutrition. So people can transition across from side to side. And this shouldn't be seen as, reduced yield. It may be reduced yield, and some clubs do talk and worry about that. But actually, it's a way of retaining members. Those members that maybe cancel their membership in the summer because they want to go running, or they're playing tennis, or they're just generally outdoors more, we could move them onto a remote membership or even down to a health seeker subscription, and then we can move them back up to a club membership when it goes into the autumn and starts the weather's not so nice and they want to run on a treadmill again. So it's a way of retaining members and moving people around as well. and ultimately saving them, keeping them engaged, a bit like Masterclass number 1, than necessarily losing them or reducing the yield. So that's just a way of explaining the model. We're looking to basically grow new foundations and then build new businesses on top of this. And the way I'm going to explain this, as always, is to go through 3 different areas, because for me, that's a good way of explaining things. In fact, I was talking to my daughter yesterday about, she was writing an essay and she needed the rule of 3 and everything. It just works. It's a good way of for me, explaining things, but also learning stuff. So the 3 areas I'm going to go through today: new services and offerings. We're going to look at what happened during lockdown, some of the services that came out of that, and some things that clubs are still doing, and you might want to consider reviewing whether you're doing it or not. We're going to jump into health seekers as well to get a little bit into a bit more detail on that. And then finally talking about how we're going to expand your business and add on to it. So questions as we go along, please. But this is another way of drawing the pyramid, if you like, talking about the cost versus progression and engagement. And right at the kind of the low cost end and the low engagement end, I've got an app, which may be the starting place. I know some people offer their club app for free. Others charge maybe £1 a month or something like that. But we do have quite a few people on app only memberships. More often than not, it's a freemium model. I personally think it's better to charge something for use of your club app if you're delivering value. More of that in a moment. There's the club there in the middle of the diagram. We're maybe progressing people up to a club type membership. And then at the top of the level, just for now, we've got personal training. Now, during lockdown, obviously we lost the club and we lost the kind of the facility to do personal training in most of the lockdowns. So quite a few clubs had the very smart idea of lending out their kit, kettlebells and dumbbells and all sorts of weights. Became very expensive, actually. There were some retailers here in the UK who were charging an awful lot for these. It wasn't a very good move, I don't think. But clubs that lent out their kit to their members really kept them engaged, and maybe were sending workout plans as well. More of that in a minute. Another thing that came out of lockdown was lots of remote classes, remote training, mainly for the members who really were really into classes already. I would suggest that most of them just came back straight away, but we're going to look a little bit at remote training and how that changed. So first of all, let's jump into the app and talk about membership apps. And there's lots of apps out there. Clubwise, we've got a good one, which I'll talk about a little bit in a minute. The basics that a membership club app will do is things like book classes and help with access control. Now, that wasn't much use in the pandemic. Post-pandemic, access control is actually very useful in an app, because if you can enter a club with contactless with a QR code, that is better for being COVID safe, I guess. The other things that very basic club apps do, you can have an online store, which is great if you've got stock and you can supply that stock to your members if they're buying it from you. Push notifications are good for the club, maybe. And another thing, I see lots of apps, lots of ads for apps or promotions or features. We can have lots and lots of tiles, which in my mind probably confuses the member more than anything else. What a club app really needs to do to boost engagement and ultimately reach more members is things like logging activity. So if you're really going to make an app work for your members, logging activity and rewarding activity and rewarding referrals, setting up challenges is really important, much more important than booking classes, which actually most people can book classes through a good club website anyway. Measuring health, this is something that the Clubwise app does really well, integrating with Tanita to be able to see your health measurements, to see your body fat percentage or whatever other measurements you've got. And off the back of that, providing great content. If you've got people who are willing to write content, that's things like challenges, but also recipes and workouts and programs, all that kind of great stuff really adds value to the membership. And for when you're building these kind of things into a club app, that's absolutely the kind of thing that you can be and should be charging for. Lots of clubs gave their apps away for free to support people during lockdown. I'm not saying that was a bad thing, because it was really good to help members, particularly if they were still paying something, or even if their membership was frozen. Let's keep them engaged on the app. But if you're really delivering a lot of value with your app, then there's absolutely no reason why a non-member should use that and pay a small subscription for it, so that they can join in with the monthly challenges and get some motivation. So apps are really powerful, and I don't think they should be free to non-members. Moving on to equipment. So in terms of kit, well, there were lots of kettlebells and dumbbells sold. I couldn't find an icon for a kettlebell somehow. I've only got a dumbbell there, but I'll take the kettlebell from Decathlon that's in the top slide that I used. More on that in a moment. Resistance bands were also really useful during the lockdown, and quite a few clubs that I spoke to actually ended up sending out resistance bands to their members or people who've been members with them for the last year. So really, it's much easier to post than a kettlebell. I think the postman appreciates it a lot more. But posting out members resistance bands, because they'll fit through the letterbox if they're packaged right, and sending a little workout with them, or giving a downloadable set of PDF workouts, is really useful and really adds a lot of value. Cardio kit was also loaned by lots of clubs all around the world, people taking spin bikes and those kind of things into their home from the club to be able to join in online workouts. Now, the point is, you can send people down to whatever read, depending on what country you're watching this from. In the UK, it would probably be Argos or Decathlon or some kind of department store to buy their kettlebells, or they might get them from Amazon. But actually, why not send them kettlebells from your club with your brand on? It's something that Barry's Bootcamp did really well. They charge probably 3-4 times the regular price for kettlebells and for weights, because they say Barry's Bootcamp on them. And I'm sure you'll believe it. I say believe it or not, but people love to work out. If people are doing a Barry's Bootcamp online session, they want to do it with Barry's Bootcamp kettlebells. So whether or not your kettlebells or your resistance bands or whatever else are branded, don't make your members go and buy them from somewhere else. They're not going to stop coming to your gym because you're selling equipment. But why not sell them branded equipment from your club? And alongside that, sending them programs to help them with that equipment, or just programs that they can do with their own body weight, is a great way of keeping members engaged, and could be another subscription type service that you give to your members and or your subscribers. And then finally, just as a dive in here, talking about remote classes. Well, obviously remote classes went mad when people were locked down, people were doing them live, people were catching up. But as clubs started to reopen again, lots of places went, well, thank goodness for that, we don't have to do remote classes anymore. We actually lost quite a few members through that process, because people either couldn't get into a class because they were full, or they weren't ready to come back to a class yet, or for various other reasons, isolation, due to a positive COVID test, which is still going on a lot at the moment. People still need the remote classes, not in the same volume that they did. And I absolutely get it. Instructors find it much harder teaching a remote class than they do a live class. But having a few remote classes on each week will A, save a few of your old members, and B, will be a showcase or a taster for new members to see what's available. So having some kind of hybrid model where, yes, you've got loads of classes in-house and some of them are absolutely full, but having remote classes, whether they're live or on catch-up, are really useful for people still, particularly if they're not coming into the office near your club anymore, but they do want to stay engaged with you. It wasn't just remote classes though, although that was kind of the headline for a lot of people about lockdown. Remote personal training did really well. A couple of the clubs I work with were doing remote PT sessions as special offers. It really helped the members. It helped get some of the PTs back off furlough. which was really important at the time. But quite a lot of these PTs are still doing remote personal training with those clients. They will see them in the club as well and say hi and give them a fist bump or maybe an elbow bump now. No high fives. But the point is they're still writing programs for these people. They're still saying hello to them in the club, but there's a remote PT. So they're not spending an hour with them every week. They may be spending an hour a month. And it's more of a subscription type model than a membership, where they're getting a program and they're helping them with their goals. They're doing it either over Zoom or doing it as a quick face-to-face session, but it's not full personal training. It is, however, a route to get people onto full personal training. So, they can buy a session, they can buy an add-on if they're on this base level subscription. So it's with or without kit. It's either standalone, just at home training for people who don't want to come back to the gym yet, or don't want to come back to the gym full stop. Let's keep them engaged. Or it could be alongside a gym membership. The final part of remote I want to talk about, there was a lot of this happened and it seems to have almost all gone away. Remote quizzes, Zoom. I mean, we're still here on Zoom talking to each other, or I'm talking to you at least. But running events in the club's really good, but running events on Zoom, whether it's a nutrition seminar or having group meetings of people coming together, it's important to keep those kind of things going on, not necessarily on Zoom, but to give people the ability to connect with the club in other ways than just classes and PT. So having get-togethers is really good, quiz nights and things like that. So just a little bit about remote. So this lockdown lessons kind of chart here, if I turn this into more of a new services and offerings chart, then you can see, if I plug these gaps here with a health check, which I'll talk about in a bit more detail in a moment. We've also got maybe some nutrition coaching. I don't know, there's lots of different examples you could put along this pathway of low cost and low engagement, but hopefully getting lots of members. That's the base of our pyramid, moving people along so that actually, we can grow the business by boosting people from the app into the club, or from buying some kit into having personal training. So by nudging people up the chart, we'll be getting more revenue and more engagement as well. But bear in mind also that this is not just about growth, because it's me talking about it. It also covers retention. And like I said earlier, people who don't want to visit the club this month, we might, rather than have them just cancel and leave, we might drop them back down to a health check membership, or a let's sell you some kit so you can work out at home. If someone's going to leave and stop paying you £50 a month, let's sell them £50 worth of kit for next month's subscription and keep them on a £5 a month or $5 a month subscription, where we send them some workouts each month and let them into challenges and lock those on the app. So it's all fluid, but having a pathway to say, look, these are the different products that we have and different levels of service that we offer. You can be pushing people up, or rather than just losing people, you can drop them back down. So a little bit there about, as I say, some lessons from lockdown, but also a way of building new services and offerings, and looking at what happened in lockdown and saying, we hope it doesn't happen again, but let's be a little bit more agile, and also let's have more that we can use to bring new members in on that base level. The big example that I want to talk about, and I have talked about this before on a Clubwise webinar with Joe and with Simon from Tanita last year, but there's been quite a lot of progress since then, and we're running a few projects on this now, and it's health seekers. And the background to health seekers is that people want to be healthier. There was a Public Health England survey done at the start of last year, actually, that said 7 in 10 out of, I think it was 7,000 UK adults want to be healthier. They want to eat better, they want to be more active, and they want to lose weight, were the kind of 3 big headlines. And it wasn't they want to join a gym. They wanted to be more active, yes, but we only have, what, 10-15% of people in the UK anyway have a gym membership. So we're not instantly going to turn, another 5, 6 people into gym members. Inactivity is on the rise. There was a boost in activity at the start of the first lockdown, as here in the UK, Boris was saying, you know, get outside once a day, walk your dog, even if you don't have a dog, get out and walk the dog. But since then, through the second and third lockdowns, and as we've come out of lockdown, inactivity is still on the rise, according to Sport England. If you type the NHS, the National Health Service, again, sorry, this is a bit UK biased, but you know, public health, type that into Google and you will get is overwhelmed. So yeah, there are big health problems, not even on the horizon, they're here now. And business is booming post-pandemic, but it's booming for these kind of guys. Okay, I've got nothing wrong with, you know, having a burger or a pizza and relaxing with a nice movie, but these guys are just, you know, really, I think, increasing or exacerbating the problem by reducing movement and delivering faster food and getting people to sit more. So I think this is what we need to work against. And the Health Seekers programs that we're rolling out are really helping that. When I say we're rolling them out, these are just examples. You can take these and roll with them. This is not an ad or a pitch. The basic premise of a Health Seeker program is that people come in, jump on a set of scales. So there's some body tracks here, which are based around Tanita technology, or it could be InBody or a Staiku body scan. And then they have a coaching appointment and set some goals and then go away and maybe, as I say, walk their dog or drink more water or eat better for the next month and then come back in for another measurement. So it's really a model that you can use to get more people into your gym, not necessarily to join the gym, but to help them with their health and build that bottom layer. It might just be an app, or it might just be we're selling them some dumbbells or kettlebells and giving them some workouts. But this Health Seekers model is working well at a few clubs. And I will run through what the appointment looks like when we do this, what the education process and the kind of the engage and follow-up process is. And then I've got just a small handful of case studies as well, of actual stories of people who've had health checks. So let's run through these. And as I've said before, questions, if you have them, please drop them into the Q&A or into the chat. So the health check appointment, again, rule of 3, very simple stuff, really. We measure and educate. So get the person on the scales and educate them about the stats. We then listen to them and coach them. And then the third part is we book a follow-up. Okay, so that's basically typically a half-hour appointment. Some are taking slightly longer, some are a little bit shorter. Certainly follow-ups are normally maybe 20 minutes, half an hour. And initial appointments can roll on maybe 40 minutes, but typically it's around 30 minutes. That measure and educate, the first 5-10 minutes, is about finding out about the client's needs, what kind of things they want to measure. These Tanita or InBody scales will give you 25, 30 different readouts. There's a lot of information there. And when we're talking with coaches, we get them to try and drill down to maybe 3 or 4 stats only that the client or member or customer is interested in. And then it's talking to them about behavior change. What are they going to try and change? And going through, when we're talking to them about their goals and their aspirations, it's having the member set those. Yeah, we're not going to say, now you've got to run on a treadmill, you've got to visit the gym 3 times a week, because that's just going to put most people off. So it's very much about listening and coaching and talking to them about the support that they have from their colleagues or from their family or from their kids even, or their parents. You know, how are they going to be more active? How are they going to eat more healthily? What are they going to do to drink more water? Building that action plan up. And then booking a follow-up. Ideally, we'll see you again in 1 month. But again, that's not for everyone. If someone wants to come back in 3 months, that's absolutely fine. If someone wants this measure every week, we could do it, but that's normally a little bit too soon. But it's as much about accountability for the member, as you'll see from a couple of the stories, as it is about, you know, let's get out there and be super active and pick up weights and run on treadmills. That's not for everyone. It's not for most people, actually. So by not talking necessarily about the gym, but by listening to the members' solutions that they have, we get much better results with this. So that's a little bit about the appointment. The education is really, really key, both for the staff. So the staff, they need the technical education on the bioimpedance analysis or the body composition scales. They also need to be more than fitness instructors. They really need to be coaches and understand behavioral change and motivational interviewing and smart goal setting and things like that. And for me, most importantly, is that they are not going to sell. That we're not talking about getting people to sign up for health club or gym memberships here. That's why we use the word subscription. It is effectively the same thing, but we don't want these people to join the gym and to run on treadmills and to do classes, because they're not going to do that. One or two do say, I know I want to rejoin, but it's not for everyone. Education is also important from the member point of view. We're looking to improve their health. We're looking to help them with behavior change. Behavior change is really, really difficult. Forming habits, it's so hard. But that's what we want to do. We want to support people through that process and educating them that we get the best results in campaigns where we actually explicitly say in a text message or in an email, there is no need to join. We are saying, we're not, our gym's actually full. We don't want any more people having gym memberships at the moment, but we do want to help you with your health and help you understand your health more and to support you. So the process we go through is threefold, believe it or not. There's an attract and engage, or attract and re-engage phase. We get great success contacting and campaigning with ex-members. So everyone who's left in the last couple of years. Let's get them all into the club for a funded health check or a health MOT, or whatever we're going to call it. There's then the appointment itself, where we're going to run through that measurement, that coaching and listening, and then the rebook. And hopefully people will rebook for another appointment there and then because they see the value in it. Whether they rebook or not, we then support them for the next month or two or three with communications, with follow-up calls, with just a little bit of customer care, basically. And if they've not booked their follow-up, hopefully that extra support we add will get them to rebook and get them to come back. If not, they go back into the re-engage phase. So a fairly simple process. There's more detail on this in a playbook that you can download. I'll give you the link at the end if you want to know more about health seekers or look at it as a model for your club. So just a handful of case studies here. So these are real life people from clubs that are running these. Some of them are studios, some of them are leisure centres, actually. This lady booked her first health check, found her metabolic age was like 12 years plus on the Tanita scales, but she didn't want to exercise or change her diet. So the coach was a bit, what are we going to do then? And she came up with drinking more water. So she improved her hydration, which was really low, and improved her metabolic age. So a nice little change in the first month. But then, and this was the big kind of reveal, she said to the coach, I don't get headaches anymore. And the coach said, I didn't know about the headaches. Did you tell me about them last time? No, she didn't, because they were so bad. But now she doesn't get headaches anymore because she's not dehydrated. She can now see her way to actually doing some more activity, not exercise, but she's going out and walking and doing more stuff because her headaches have gone, because she's not dehydrated. So a really great example of a little change, a bit of a detailed study. The second one, this chap, David, was actually playing golf a couple of times a week, but a bit worried about health and really interested in everything that came out of the body composition analysis. And he went with reducing alcohol and coffee during the week, which was something that was going to improve his health. And on the days he wasn't playing golf, he decided, well, he still needed to not go out for a full 18 holes, whatever that is, 12, 15,000 steps, but to go out for at least a half an hour walk every day. And yeah, he looks forward every month to coming in and seeing the little changes that he gets from the changes that he's making. This lady was worried about her size, definitely not going to go into the gym, but needed motivation to help her. mainly talked about nutrition and eating and kind of food and stuff like that. But after the first appointment, she actually texted the coach within a few days and said, I've just been out and bought quite a lot of expensive jogging gear and had been out for her first jog. So again, not something that was necessarily discussed in the appointment, but a fantastic change that this lady's making. And she's seeing small positive changes in a lot of her readings, and is booked for the next year. She's coming in every month for the next year. So she's basically paid upfront annual for 12 health checks going forwards. And the last one for now, this chap was, again, wanted to lose weight, but to cut a long story short, he basically, on the 7-day call, actually, he said to the coach, I've become vegan, which to me was like, well, that's what a great story. But apparently there are, not being a fitness or nutrition specialist, I then found out that it's not a great idea to just instantly become vegan. You're going to be missing out on certain nutrients and vitamins and all those kind of things. So he is now on some nutrition coaching with a partner, OD Health, who are helping him with setting his new vegan plan. And he comes in quarterly for his biometric analysis for his measurements. So just explaining, different ways that this model can work. It's not about getting someone in, weekly or even necessarily monthly, but it's about showing people where they're at the moment. And that measurement is really, what people need. They're looking initially for the measurement, and then a little bit of education around that. And if they then don't come back for another measurement for a year, that's fine, but we've still got them, as a contact in our database, and we can contact them and send them advice and maybe a meal plan or an example of a healthy walk that they could be going on. The key thing that these people are getting is the support. So you could go to Boots, to your local chemist or pharmacy, and you could get a body composition, or you could go to another club maybe and get a body composition done. But what these health seekers are getting on these kind of programs is support and motivation, and help with making that behavior change, which is really hard. But along with the repeat measurements that they can come back and get, that's really where the coaches, these instructors, are finding their way and they're finding their purpose. The guys that are delivering this they're super motivated and really proud of the way it's going, both, as I said, both in leisure centres and in some small EMS studios and in some PT studios as well. The key thing to remember, I think I stressed it enough before, but just in case, it's not about necessarily selling the gym or trying to push people up this pyramid. It's about building. If we build that base layer right and get enough people on that, people will naturally flow into the next modules if they're right for them. And we have, I'm almost embarrassed to say that at the leisure centres we're running this, we've had quite a few people rejoin off the back of the health check, although that absolutely wasn't the plan. So the final little part, this is only a little part, if anyone is looking at their watches, I'm just checking the time. In terms of add on and expand, there's not a big expansion here, but just hopefully a few words of advice and things like that. And this is what I talk to a lot of gym owners and chief execs of trusts as well. It's really important to know what the core business is. Okay, so what it is, but also what it was and what you want it to be. So hopefully you know what it is now and you know what it was, but thinking about what you want your leisure centre or your PT studio or your boutique gym or your budget chain, what you want the core business to be. And it's important to think about your purpose, whether you're the owner or whether you're someone working there, but also understand, maybe through surveys or some kind of groups that come together on Zoom, as I mentioned earlier, or actually in the club, what purpose the members see of the club as well, because you want to serve your current members as well as bring new ones in, whether it's new ones like them or completely new ones seeking health. So you're building then a platform, not necessarily it could be, you need the right CRM for this, but it's the platform for the business. It's that base layer that you're then going to build these extra pyramids as I've drawn them on.
Yeah.
And this,
sorry, Guy, we have just a question. I don't know whether you've noticed.
Of course, yeah.
Are your health checks free or is there a fee?
Brilliant. Thank you, Joe. Yes, really good question. Anonymous attendee number one. So on the health checks, we certainly put a value on them. Free, I always say free is a 4-letter word. If you've read anything that I've written, that'll be wound in there somewhere normally. With the leisure centre, we're actually billing them at £30 per check. But what we often do is say the first one is funded. So if you want to, if we're inviting ex-members back, as an ex-member who left in January last year, you're entitled to one of our funded health checks, but they're worth £30. And in London, 50, 60, £70. Other clubs have offered them for maybe 25. But no, they're not free. Nothing's ever free. We always put a value or a price on it. And then sometimes we say your first one is funded. But if the person coming for that first appointment understands that they're getting £30 worth of value, A, they'll turn up, and B, if they're thinking of booking a next one, they already know how much it costs. That's the same for health checks or PT or anything that you're offering. It should never be free. It might be that we've paid for you to have a £30 health check. So yeah, good question. Thank you very much. And thanks, Joe, for spotting that. So yeah, in terms of this, what the platform is, start with why. Basically, this is often the starting point for a discussion or a coaching session, or building some strategy. Start with why, and I have pinched that from Simon Sinek, a very good strategist and speaker. So look up his books; they're great. So start with the why, because then you can move on to the how. How are we going to build onto that core business? What is it that we're offering service-wise, whether it's memberships or subscriptions, and yeah, building a community as well. A club is not a building and some equipment and some classes or even some staff. A club is the definition of a club is a group of people who come together for a common goal. So whether they're coming together and running around the park in park run, or maybe meeting at your gym and going for a run from there of an evening. Those are the kind of communities, lifting communities, nutrition and advice communities. So things like that. Education really should be at the core of all these for me. So going back to the seminars part, I think that's really important and interesting, whether it's in the club or online. So building different services, memberships and subscriptions are effectively the same thing, but I like the idea of a health seeker subscription that people subscribe to. It might just be a membership ultimately in your front of house platform. And finally, what you're doing when you're building these add-on and when you're expanding your business, you need to think, what am I doing here with this particular product or service or subscription to add value to as many members as possible? Also, is it going to help grow the business, or actually is it going to hold us back? And finally, because everything for me is about retention, how is it going to aid retention? Of our existing members, health checks. There's lots of Tanita scales and in-body scales and these body composition scales. There's lots of them in clubs being massively underused because existing members aren't banging the front desk saying it's time for my health check. That needs to change. We need to get these kind of devices used by everyone, by existing members and by new members. So that's why I'm so passionate about this particular project, because it will not only bring new people in, but it'll improve retention as well. So that's my whiz through. We're at 7:45. As usual, I'm going to go a minute or two over just with the last couple of bits to say we've learned a lot from lockdown. It wasn't great, it wasn't enjoyable, but there are lots of lessons that we got from it. Hopefully there won't be any more lockdowns, but I can't guarantee that. And I'm not saying you need to plan for future ones, but if the business models you're building help those, so if you're looking at an app and that's going to help improve your business in a future lockdown, then it's worth considering. Health Seeker subscriptions, a couple of people have pointed out that actually they could be really useful. You know, we could do, in certain levels of lockdown, we could do one-on-one PT. We could do, you know, people were still having health checks and health appointments. People were even having EMS training because it was one-on-one PT effectively. So things like that that will help, that will build resilience into your business, are really good. And yeah, for me, there has to be more of a focus on health to open up the health club to more people. So it's not just people coming to the gym, people coming to classes, it's people coming because they want to be healthier, not necessarily run on a treadmill, but they might want to drink more water or sleep better. So that's my run through the attract phase of the new era, and effectively the end of the 3 masterclasses. I'll just pop this up again, because if there's questions that you're holding back on, you can ask in 1 minute. But if you want to run through the whole slide deck, so from engage through recover through attract, if you go to ggfit.com/clubwise, you can look through all the slides at your own pace. You won't have me droning on over the top of them. If you do want to have my voice over the top, then please check out the replay videos on the Clubwise website. And yeah, I'll take any questions now, but if you need to dash to get your tea or get the kids to bed, or it's the middle of the afternoon in the States, then please, you know, do reach out to me, guy@ggfit.com. I'd love to hear from you with any other questions you've got. But yeah, is there anything else at the moment? Thanks, Joe, for chipping in with that one on pricing.
Oh, no problem at all. It doesn't look like we've got any others coming through, but we'll give it a second.
Sure.
And whilst we're just waiting, I will just say that, yeah, a full recording will be going out tomorrow to everybody that registered. So you should receive that via your email inbox. Amazing.
Thanks, Joe. So yeah, feel free to have a look at I call them slides. It's a Prezi online. I also forgot to, if on that same URL, ggfit.com/clubwise, you can download for free a Health Seekers playbook, which talks about, it's a bit more detail about the Health Seeker ideas and project. Download that, have a look, go ahead and run with it. Or if you've got any questions, again, then just drop me an email. But it's a free download. It's absolutely not a sales pitch. The more people that are doing the Health Seeker programs, the happier I'll be, because the more people will be healthier and fitter. That's what it's all about. Well, I mean, if there aren't any more coming in at the moment, then, and you think of something after we finish, then please do drop me an email. I think the last thing to do is just to say a massive thank you to Clubwise for putting on these 3 masterclasses. So thank you, Joe, and I hope you all found them very useful.
No, thanks, Guy. I know it's been an absolute pleasure to collaborate with you on these, and I've found every single one of them extremely valuable, and it's been great to be able to provide our audience with this free content. So thank you very much, and I look forward to collaborating with you again in the autumn.
Awesome. Likewise. Thanks, Joe. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.